Welcome to my YouTube channel. Here, you'll find great educational content. Hit subscribe and join our community.
The first time Mara heard about the ritual, it was already halfway through being a joke. They were sitting on the cracked linoleum floor of Theo's apartment kitchen at 2 in the morning, surrounded by empty soda cans and a pizza box that smelled faintly like onions and cardboard. The city hummed outside the open window, traffic softened by distance and rain. Theo was scrolling on his phone with exaggerated seriousness, while Lila insisted the microwave clock was blinking in Morse code. "Okay, wait," Theo said, pushing his glasses up his nose. "This forum says if you do it exactly right, something actually happens." "Everything happens if you wait long enough," Lila replied, lying on her back and staring at the ceiling fan as if expecting it to confess a crime. Mara leaned against the fridge, cool metal pressing through her hoodie. "What kind of something?" Theo rotated the phone toward them. The screen glowed ghostly in the dim kitchen. "A calling ritual," he said dramatically. "Not summoning a demon, apparently. More like inviting a visitor." "That sounds worse," Mara said. "Zerat Taugodin." It literally says people do it as a joke all the time. Nothing ever shows up. It's like a chain letter for bored insomniacs. Lila rolled onto her stomach. "What are the rules?" Theo cleared his throat and read aloud. "Midnight or later. 3 candles, 1 mirror, and a glass of water. You write your name on paper, fold it 4 times, put it under the glass. Then you say," he squinted, "if anyone waits beyond the waiting, you may share this room tonight." Silence filled the kitchen. Lila burst out laughing first. "That's the least threatening invitation ever. It sounds like a confused Airbnb listing." Mara smiled despite herself. "What's the mirror for?" "House root." "Symbolism? Aesthetic?" "Internet people love mirrors." Lila pushed herself up. "We have candles and a mirror in the bathroom. Let's do it." Mara hesitated, but only for a second.
The first time Mara heard about the ritual, it was already halfway through being a joke. They were sitting on the cracked linoleum floor of Theo's apartment kitchen at 2 in the morning, surrounded by empty soda cans and a pizza box that smelled faintly like onions and cardboard. The city hummed outside the open window, traffic softened by distance and rain. Theo was scrolling on his phone with exaggerated seriousness, while Lila insisted the microwave clock was blinking in Morse code. "Okay, wait," Theo said, pushing his glasses up his nose. "This forum says if you do it exactly right, something actually happens." "Everything happens if you wait long enough," Lila replied, lying on her back and staring at the ceiling fan as if expecting it to confess a crime. Mara leaned against the fridge, cool metal pressing through her hoodie. "What kind of something?" Theo rotated the phone toward them. The screen glowed ghostly in the dim kitchen. "A calling ritual," he said dramatically. "Not summoning a demon, apparently. More like inviting a visitor." "That sounds worse," Mara said. "Relax." Theo grinned. "It literally says people do it as a joke all the time. Nothing ever shows up. It's like a chain letter for bored insomniacs." Lila rolled onto her stomach. "What are the rules?" Theo cleared his throat and read aloud. "Midnight or later. 3 candles, 1 mirror, and a glass of water. You write your name on paper, fold it 4 times, put it under the glass. Then you say," he squinted, "if anyone waits beyond the waiting, you may share this room tonight." Silence filled the kitchen. Lila burst out laughing first. "That's the least threatening invitation ever. It sounds like a confused Airbnb listing." Mara smiled despite herself. "What's the mirror for?" Theo shrugged. "Symbolism. Aesthetic. Internet people love mirrors." Lila pushed herself up. "We have candles. And a mirror in the bathroom. Let's do it." Mara hesitated, but only for a second. The night was long, and boredom had a gravitational pull stronger than caution. "Fine," she said, "but if a ghost shows up, you're explaining it to the landlord." The bathroom mirror was oval and slightly warped, giving reflections of faintly underwater quality. They carried it to the living room and leaned it against a stack of textbooks on the coffee table. Theo found 3 mismatched candles. A birthday candle shaped like a number 7, a thick vanilla pillar, and a small tea light. "Perfect symmetry," Lila declared. They dimmed the lights until the apartment felt smaller, reduced to candle glow and shadow. Rain tapped the windows like someone politely failing to get attention. Mara wrote her name on a scrap of notebook paper. Mara, letters pressed darker than she intended. She folded it once, twice, 3 times, 4, and slid it beneath the glass of water. Theo insisted she had to say the phrase since she'd written the name. He held his phone like a script supervisor. Mara cleared her throat, feeling faintly ridiculous. If anyone waits beyond the waiting, she said, stumbling slightly over the words, you may share this room tonight. Nothing happened. Lila clapped slowly, chilling. Theo leaned forward, peering into the mirror as if expecting a delayed punchline. Maybe it takes a minute. They waited. The candles flickered with ordinary physics. The water remained water. Mara's reflection stared back at her, tired-eyed and unimpressed. After 30 seconds, Lila snorted. Congratulations, we've invited absolutely no one. They laughed, loud and relieved. Theo blew out the birthday candle first, saluting it. Good night, mysterious visitor. They left everything on the table and migrated to the couch, where conversation wandered from conspiracy theories to childhood memories to whether pigeons had regional accents. Eventually, sometime after 3, they fell asleep where they sat. Mara woke before dawn to the sensation of someone standing nearby. Not touching, not moving, just present. Her eyes opened to gray early light filtering through the curtains. The candles were burned low stubs. Theo slept with his mouth open. Lila had slid onto the floor, using a pillow as a barricade against nothing. And beside the coffee table stood a fourth shadow. It wasn't shaped like a person exactly, but her mind insisted on interpreting it that way. Vertical, patient, slightly darker than the dim room deserved. It leaned toward the mirror as if listening. Mara blinked hard. The shadow didn't vanish dramatically. Instead, it seemed to thin, like breath dispersing in cold air, until it was simply absence again. She stared for a long time before convincing herself she dreamed it. Hey, she whispered hoarsely, nudging Theo's shoulder. Wake up, he groaned. If this is about breakfast, I refuse. Did either of you get up earlier? Lila's voice came muffled from the floor. Nope. Still dead. Mara hesitated, then shook her head. Nothing. Forget it. She didn't mention the shadow. Morning sunlight made it sound stupid even inside her own head. They cleaned up, laughing at their late-night theatrics. Theo tossed the paper with her name into the trash. The mirror went back to the bathroom. The day resumed its ordinary shape. For 3 days, everything stayed normal. On the 4th night, Mara heard breathing in the hallway. Not hers, not a neighbor's through thin walls. It was measured and unhurried, like someone resting between thoughts. She opened her bedroom door quickly. The hallway was empty, but the bathroom mirror was fogged, as though someone had just stood in front of it after a hot shower. The apartment's water heater had been broken for weeks. Mara wiped the glass with her sleeve. Her reflection returned, but it lagged a fraction of a second behind her movement, a subtle delay that vanished when she tried to confirm it. Very funny, she muttered, though she wasn't sure who she was accusing. The next evening, Theo texted the group chat. Did one of you come over earlier? Mara typed back. No, why? Front door was unlocked when I got home. Also the water glass from the ritual is back on the table. Lila replied. I thought you washed it. Theo. I did. Mara felt a small coldness settle under her ribs. When she arrived at the apartment, the glass indeed sat on the coffee table. Clean. Centered. The folded paper lay beneath it again, though Theo swore he'd thrown it away. Okay, Lila said, trying to keep humor in her voice and failing slightly. We're being pranked by a very committed person who wants us to develop trust issues. Mara unfolded the paper. Her name was written in her handwriting, but the ink looked fresher than 4 days old. There was something else beneath it, faint indentations as though someone had traced the letters repeatedly without ink. Theo forced a laugh. We're overreacting. One of us sleepwalked, or I have carbon monoxide poisoning. They left the glass where it was, a silent agreement not to acknowledge it further. That night, the power flickered once at exactly 2 a.m. Mara woke to the living room light softly glowing under her bedroom door. She followed it, heart thudding. The mirror had been moved back from the bathroom and propped again against the textbooks. The candles, replaced by no one, burned with steady flames. And the glass of water was empty. Across the surface of the mirror, words had been traced in condensation. Thank you for the room. Mara didn't scream. The moment was too quiet for screaming. Instead she stood there, breathing shallowly, feeling the apartment subtly rearrange its meaning around her. Behind her, the floor creaked once. She turned. The air looked denser near the hallway, not dark but thick, like heat shimmer seen through winter. A silhouette leaned politely at a distance, keeping to the edges of the space. It felt less like an intruder and more like a guest unsure of social customs. Are you? She whispered, then stopped because she had no vocabulary for the question. The presence did not approach. Yet she felt a tension settle on her, curious and mild. A memory surfaced. The phrase from the ritual. If anyone waits beyond the waiting. Something had accepted an invitation not meant sincerely. Mara swallowed. You can't stay, she said softly, trying to sound confident enough for both of them. It was a joke. The air shifted faintly, almost apologetic. In the mirror, condensation gathered again, letters forming slowly. Jokes are doors too. Her pulse hammered in her ears. I didn't know. Another line appeared beneath the first. Neither did I. The candles flickered as if in agreement. The presence remained at the threshold of visibility, patient. Mara found herself unexpectedly sad. Where were you before? A pause long enough to measure. Then, waiting where rooms end. She didn't understand, but she believed the sincerity in it. Not malevolent, not kind, just displaced. Footsteps sounded behind her, Theo, bleary-eyed, then Lila right after. They froze at the sight. Nope, Lila whispered immediately. Nope, nope, nope. Theo stared at the mirror, then at the air. We have a squatter. Mara almost laughed hysterically. The presence receded slightly at the new attention, like an animal wary of sudden noise. The words on the mirror blurred, then steadied. More of you. Good. Good. Lila croaked. We accidentally adopted an existential roommate. Theo rubbed his face. Can it leave? The mirror remained blank for a long moment. I was asked to stay tonight. Theo pointed at the clock. 2:07 a.m. Technically tonight ends at sunrise, right? We can work with that. They sat on the couch together, facing the coffee table like negotiators at an awkward summit. The presence lingered along the walls, never crossing into full light. For the next hour, they talked, tentatively at first, then with strange casualness. They asked questions, sometimes words formed in the mirror, sometimes only feelings answered. Impressions of vast corridors, of places defined by absence instead of structure, of time experienced sideways. It had no name, only awareness of invitations and thresholds. Most calls faded before it could arrive. Theirs had been clear. Because we said room, Mara realized aloud. Not body, not life. Just room. Affirmative. Lila hugged a pillow. So we basically booked a cosmic Airbnb and forgot to cancel. The presence seemed amused, the candle flames tilting toward it briefly. As dawn approached, the air grew lighter, the presence thinner. Sun approaches. I depart. Mara felt an unexpected urgency. Will you come back? Only if asked. Theo raised his hands immediately. We are not doing that again. But Mara looked at the fading shimmer and felt a complicated tenderness. Wait, she said, then stopped herself. She remembered the words. Jokes are doors too. Some doors, once understood, should remain closed out of respect. She exhaled slowly. Thank you for visiting. The mirror fogged one last time. Thank you for meaning it. Sunlight spilled through the curtains. The candles extinguished themselves without smoke. The air became ordinary, definitively empty. For a long while none of them spoke. Finally Lila said, we're never joking about rituals again. Theo nodded fervently. From now on we only joke about taxes and gravity. Mara folded the paper carefully and tucked it into a book instead of throwing it away. Not as an invitation, but as a reminder that intention mattered, that even casual words could echo somewhere beyond hearing. Life resumed. Classes, errands, the hum of the city. Yet sometimes, late at night, Mara would pause in the hallway and feel the quiet differently, aware of how close the edges of rooms truly were. She never performed the ritual again. But she never called it meaningless either.